Hi everyone, welcome to this A2L charging session of the Danfoss live meeting. I am David Leray. I have joined Danfoss system solution team 1.5 year ago as a system designer. So today we will discuss the A2L charge limit and the impact of the charge limit about on our typical application and to exemplify those constraint that the charge limit put on our application, we will look to a specific example, a cold room for vegetables that will run with R54C. And it's a small cold room of 54 cubic meter. And we will try to explain how we make the charge calculation, how we select the condensing unit, and what are the consequences on the liquid line length. So first about the EN378. The EN378 gives the charge limit of refrigerant according to their toxicity, their flammability, but also their application. So there's a distinction between human comfort and other type of application like refrigeration. And the EN378 also makes the distinction between different level of access and different location of the system. So if we look at the EN378 for A2L and application other than human comfort, you can see first the type of access. So you've got general access, supervised access, authorized access, and you've got on this vertical axis, I would say, the different system locations. So, for example, the first column is for compressor and evaporator. All of the system is inside the building. On the other side, you've got, for example, a system in machinery room or open air. And for those different category of access and system location, we've got different charge limit. So if we go back to our example, we have a cold room with a condensing unit in open air. So we look this column. And this cold room will be accessible not for every public in the supermarket, but only authorized people. And so we need to look at this line. And we'll see the charge limit equation given by EN378 here. So it's 20% of the LFL times the room volume, and no more than 25 kilograms. So this is for the EN378. Now, if we plot this charge equation according to the room volume, you can see on the plot two different refrigerants, the R54C, the one that we are considering for our cold room, and also the R55A, which has higher LFL, so of course you can put more refrigerant in your system. So now, before we look more closely to our example, here I have represented on the chart different applications, vegetables and frozen meat, and we have given the max distance of those different applications according to the room volume. So you've got the room volume here, the max charge according to EN378, and the max distance between the condensing unit and the evaporator. We will look more closely. So, for example, in our application, our 54 cubic meter cold room, we see here, we can read on the chart that the max distance is 22 meters with R54C. And we will look where does this come from, this 22 meter. Where does this 22 meter come from? Just before we look at that, here, those limits for R54C with R55A, because the LFL is much higher, we could increase the distance quite a lot. So now let's go to this specific example. So here we have put again the size of the cold room and some of the parameters that define the cold room. And here we have put the refrigerant, R54C, its LFL value, and the maximum charge according to 378, so it's 3.1 kilograms, so it's not so much. And to make the calculation of the liquid line length, we have make it in 4 steps. It's a 4-step approach. First, it's thermal load calculation, then the condensing unit selection, evaporator selection, and at the end, we come to this liquid line selection and max liquid line length. So first, we need this thermal load calculation or cooling capacity, the condensing unit cooling capacity calculation. For that, we will use a cool tool, Cool Selector. Maybe you know this tool. So we open the Cool Selector software, and you can see on the left different applications. So I select commercial application, cold room, and then cold room wizard. So what we need to do is to select the dimension of the cold room. So here it is 3 meters, 5 meter wide, 3.6 meter high. That's inner dimension. We select the surrounding temperature of the cold room and the floor temperature. Then we move to the next window. We select the vegetable. So this is the product we want to store in the cold room. I don't have any idea of the quantity of product we can put in this cold room, so I will use again the wizard, and it proposes me 50% of the volume of the cold room used for the storing of the goods, and 20% percentage of goods that go out and in every day. So it looks good for me. I take this. Then I move to the next window. The Cool Selector wizard proposed me a temperature, 0.5 degrees C inside the cold room. It looks good to me. And a relative humidity 95%. And based on that, it estimates an operating hour, 12 hours a day. If I had changed the humidity, so for example, a lower humidity, I would get a larger operating hour. But for vegetable, we want salad and tomato to be in a humid atmosphere, so we need this 95% humidity ratio and this low number of operating hours per day. And then we move to the next window. You've got a recap of all the parameters that define your cold room. You can change additional load. You can increase some thermal load or change the logic of the defrost if you want. And then next, we come to this window where we can select our condensing unit. So in that case, it's an Optima Plus for European countries. And unfortunately, today, we don't have the A12 unit inside the database, so I will select a R44A unit. We will not be able to go through all the process of the unit selection, but at least we will get the thermal load and cooling capacity we required for this cold room. So next window, we get the cooling capacity required for this cold room, the cooling capacity of the condensing unit required for this cold room. So this is the calculation based on thermal load and the operating, the duty cycle of this condensing unit. And next, if we move next, we will have a selection of the condensing unit, a condensing unit selection proposed by Cool Selector. As today we don't have the A12 refrigerant, the proposed, and as I have selected the R44A unit, refrigerant, the proposed condensing unit is, of course, a R44A condensing unit. But anyway, what is important is that during this cold room definition, I get my cooling capacity for the condensing unit. So I go back to the presentation. And now, after using the Cool Selector wizard, we have this cooling capacity needed for the COM room, 3.4 kilowatts. And we've got also the operating conditions, so the evaporating temperature, 7.2 degrees C, and the useful superheat. So that's what we wanted to have. So now we can move to the next step. It is the condensing unit selection. So we know that we need 3.4 kilowatts. Unfortunately, today in Cool Selector, we don't have this A12 condensing unit in the database. So I have made a manual selection based on test results. So I know that this condensing unit will give around 4 kilowatts at 32 ambient temperature. So it will work with this required cooling cap of this cold room. So that's okay. And I look also at the cooling cap for 25 degrees C condensing temperature, because we will need this cooling cap. We will make the selection of the evaporator and liquid line based on the cooling cap for the minimum condensing temperature. So we need this value. Then comes with the condensing unit all the internal parts and the volume we have in the internal part. So we can make a charge calculation, a charge mobilized inside the condensing unit. And in that case, we come to this 0.8 kilogram of refrigerant inside the condensing unit. Good, so now we can move to the third step, the evaporator selection. So here you can see on the plot the cooling cap of different evaporators versus their volume. And this plot has been made for the running conditions of our evaporator, so -7 degrees C evaporating temperature and 0.5 room temperature. So we know that we need the evaporator to be 7 kilowatts, because this is the maximum cooling cap of our condensing unit. So we can read on the plot 7 kilowatts, the number of liters that we would require for the evaporator, 4.4. And based on that and liquid fraction model, we guess that the refrigerant charge inside the evaporator would be 0.66 kilogram. So now we are ready to for the last step of the project, the liquid line selection. So we've got the cooling cap of our condensing unit, the maximum cooling cap of our condensing unit. And so based on that, we can make a mass flow rate calculation. And based on the mass flow rate calculation and the liquid line diameter, so here you've got different liquid line diameter, we can make the calculation of the velocity, of course, but also a pressure drop in Kelvin, given in Kelvin per meters. And if we want the pressure drop, the liquid line pressure drop to be less than 1 K, it gives us a maximum pipe run. On the other hand, we've got the maximum charge that the system can contain, according to EN 378. We know the charge mobilized inside the unit, mobilized inside the evaporator. And so we know that we can store, or we can put 1.6 kilogram inside the liquid line to come to this maximum charge. And again, with the liquid line diameter, we can calculate a maximum pipe length, a maximum liquid line length, and these are the figures we can see here. At the end, the maximum pipe run need to respect at the same time a maximum pressure drop of 1 K, and it need also to respect the maximum charge limit. So this is the minimum of those two figures we can see on those two columns. And this is where we come to this 20 meters for a 3-8 liquid line diameter. Okay, so we have seen where comes from the liquid line length. A word or two on microchannel. You know that our condensing units are equipped with microchannel condenser. Microchannel has a lot of advantages, like the compactness, the low pressure drop, high heat transfer coefficient, so high efficiency. But what is really important for us is for A2L is that microchannel condenser can save a lot of refrigerant, a lot of mass of refrigerant. And if we continue our example, the condensing unit we have selected for our cold room was with a D7 condenser, and we have estimated the charge to be 0.2 kilogram. With an equivalent finite tube condenser, we think that we could have a charge up to 0.6 kilogram. So the difference is 0.4 kilogram, and that corresponds for a pipe diameter of 3-8, for a liquid pipe diameter of 3-8, of 8 meters of liquid pipe run. So it's quite a lot. It means that with a microchannel condenser, we can make much more longer pipe compared to thin and tubes condensing unit. So now we come to the conclusion. So we have made some calculation of liquid line run for A2L condensing unit, and we have found that there was not so big issue with this charge limitation. In fact, we come to a reasonably long pipe run. In case some application, for example, small cold room, small volume, could be a problem with R54C, of course, you could turn to R55A and increase a lot the pipe run. So no critical issue to make this type of application with A2L. Note also that you could increase the charge limit by taking some additional safety measure. So you can look at EN378. Some typical safety measure could be ventilation, for example, or alarm and shut-off valve. Of course, what we have presented, the figures we have presented are preliminary results. We are still doing tests on condensing units, so we need to confirm all that. But I think we have done, we have given some fair data. I think we will not change much those data. We have discussed a little bit about microchannel and the advantages for the reduction of charge and given figures about the increase of pipe length it represents. So basically, charge calculation is not difficult, and liquid line length calculation is not difficult, but we need some information about the condensing unit, like the internal volume. And so, and we need also some tools, because you see the calculation of the max liquid line length is sort of optimization. So it changes a little bit the habit compared to what maybe you're doing today. And so we will think about some support or maybe some tools to help installer do those liquid line length calculation. So this concludes my presentation. Please continue to follow the rest of the live meeting session, and also participate to the chat. I would be pleased to answer your question. Thank you.